So today we're going to be doing a clutch. Suppose by now you have it all taken apart. I'm going to show you guys how to put it back together or put in your new kit. So this is actually a brand new clutch that was just replaced, but it has been ridden on this clutch. But I made a mistake and put it back together wrong last time. We're going to do it right, and I'm going to make a video of this. So first we're going to start out with a, if you actually look at the back of the clutch boss, it's in gear right now, so I can only turn it so far. But it is actually a smooth plate all the way around there. So that is actually considered almost like a metal plate. So you have, if you look at these plates here, there's friction metal, and the metal grabs onto the clutch boss, which spins this, and the outer one grabs onto the friction plates, which are grabbed on by the rotating engine. And when these actually tighten together, which is when you let go of your clutch, these actually push together and rotate the engine, start spinning the gears in the transmission. So we're going to start by a friction plate, because there is actually the pressure plate in the back, serves as one of the metal plates, as you can call it. We're going to start with a friction plate. Next we're going to go with a metal plate. And the metal plate, I kind of just pushed down my foot peg lever, so that's going to be in the way a few times, but that's just my stove heating up. It's making a funny sound. Next we're going to go with friction. Now sometimes these have them marked, like there's a little groove or something. These ones aren't. You just put them in the basket where they belong. So, and next we got, that was just a friction, and then we're going to do metal. You do friction metal till you get all the way to the end. And now we're putting in this metal. You also want to make sure you have your new clutch plates soaked in oil. These ones were already used and they're all oily right now. But like I said, it smells a hell of a lot like gear oil. That's what was used in this bike. Mixture of gear oil and motor oil. Because this is a two-stroke bike. And then we're going to go with another metal. And then just repeat back to friction. Ooh, that one looks kind of funny, doesn't it? Almost looks like it's been glazed a little bit. Has ran without oil because the case had a hole in it. I haven't had this bike running yet, but I just split the cases and stuff, and then I realized we had a clutch problem, which was my own dumb fuck up. Should have checked it out and make sure it works. Oops, I'm making a professional like video, shouldn't be cursing. But hey, you know, we're all adults here, we can handle mature language. As long as we use it in the right way. And last one. Alright, so it should be almost level to the outside here. This one isn't quite, but that is normal. Next, here's the part where I screwed up. The clutch was all loose, and I think what happened was, instead of this piece fitting in here, I think it fit out here, and it was holding the clutch loose the whole time. It needs to fit in here, so that's why I'm doing this one out. I'm pushing this pin in here first, and I'm going to just do, is I'm actually going to stick this on. Now you want to rotate the basket. I call this the boss, I call the other one the black basket. I'm watching the kickstart there isn't trying to do any goofy things on me. And sometimes just arrows on it. I'm not seeing anything, so I'm going to put this back in here. There's an arrow right here, and I think it's pointing to marks on the outside. Sometimes there's special types of grooves, but I'm still not seeing anything, so I'm putting this one back in here. And I'm going to hold that in place and line up that. And now, when I'm actually holding that plate up there, these plates feel much tighter. So now I can finally pop start my vehicle. Alright, this here is also another important part. But I'm going to show you what that does then. But let's get these springs back in. I'm just going to use a screwdriver. These are brand new springs, so if you don't have to push down on the springs, I know for this clutch anyhow, sometimes it may be different on others, but if you don't have to push down to actually get the bolt started because of the spring, then you know your springs are worn down. He actually has an example of some of the older springs, and I'll compare them to you to the newer ones. You can actually see the difference in those springs. That's actually just from sitting. If the bike just sits, or sometimes over time when it's compressing the springs, but a lot of times it could just be caused by just the bike sitting. And as the bike sits, it keeps pressure on the springs, and over time they just don't, metal, even though it's really springy metal, it's just gonna not want to go out all the way anymore. So Alright, so now now that they're all in, we're gonna tighten them down. You should actually torque them. Not sure the torque specifications. It all depends on your bike. I'm usually good with hand tightening it, but isn't necessarily the best thing to do. But I've been doing this for so long, I know to torque myself, but I should have some torque wrenches myself, which I don't really have any good ones. So we're going to torque them to about 10 foot-pounds. Probably the best thing for a YZ250. And I'm just going to use a cross pattern. And like I said, it's best to get a torque wrench. But as long as they're in and torqued around the right amount, you're good. Head bolts and stuff, it's actually a little more important if you ask me. And you can look up your torque specs for any other bike online. This is more of a video, not just for a YZ250, but like maybe a CR250, any bike with a similar clutch, because it's pretty much the same concept. When you're putting in the clutch plates, it's friction metal, friction metal. It's very easy. I tell you what, it's probably one of the easiest jobs to do in your bottom end. Alright, so next we're going to do one last thing, and we are going to install it's a lot washer, or a split washer, whatever you like to call them. I'm using stainless steel ones, and we're going to install that on there, and like that, but we're not going to tighten it down yet, because we're going to adjust our clutch back to where it was. If you haven't adjusted your clutch cable, but we're going to adjust it somewhere in the center of where you want your clutch cable adjusted, so that way you can adjust it from the outside. So, since I had mine pulled all the way out when my clutch wasn't, that wasn't supposed to happen, just a little extra liquid coolant came out. So I'm actually pulling my bike up now, and if you can come up here next, you can actually see I'm actually adjusting this inward. You actually want to adjust it not all the way in, but almost all the way in, and you just turn that in like that. This was really stiff. And that's all hand adjustment up here. And I guess that's going farther. I'm not going to turn it, like I said, I don't want to turn it necessarily all the way in, but somewhat in, so that way I can adjust it in and out. But I have all that extra play. Alright, and gonna make sure this is all the way, clutch cable's being held in. Alright. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze the handle. Nothing. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to take this end here, take a small screwdriver. Let's see what I got over here.